Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Insha'Allah ta'ala, we will continue our lesson from the chapter of wiping over the khuffain, leather socks, from Mukhtasarul Qudoori of Imam Qudoori rahimahullah. So in the previous lesson, we learned that wiping over the khuffain is jaiz according to the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this comes in place of washing the feet in wudu. And one is allowed to wipe over his khuffain, leather socks, if he wore them in the state of tahara. So after he wears them in the state of wudu and invalidates his wudu, now he is allowed to wipe over his khuffain whilst performing wudu. Instead of washing his feet, he can wipe over his khuffain with wet fingers. Okay. And the time limit of wiping for a resident is 24 hours, and his time will start when he invalidates his wudu. And for the musafir, traveler, we mentioned that the time limit is 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights. Okay. And same for the traveler, when he invalidates his wudu, his time limit will start after wearing his khuffain in the state of tahara. Insha'Allah, we will continue with the text. The author states, وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ, and whoever began the wiping, وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ, whilst he was a resident, muqim means resident, فَسَافَرَ, and then he travelled, قَبْلَ تَمَامِ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ, before the completion of 1 day and night, مَسَحَ تَمَامَ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ وَلَيَالِيهَا, he will wipe for the completion of 3 days and nights, 3 days and 3 nights. So the mas'ala is, if one was a muqim resident, we mentioned if he was khuffain, the time limit for him is 24 hours. Time limit of wiping is 24 hours for the resident. If the resident became a traveler before completing the 24 hours, the mas'ala is that he can continue wiping on his khuffain and complete the time limit for a traveler, which is 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights. Okay? And the 3 days and 3 nights will not start from the time this person becomes a traveler. Meaning, if the muqim had wiped over his khuffain for, let's say, 10 hours, and then he became a traveler, we will not say he has 72 hours added on to his time from the time he became a traveler. But whatever time had passed by, he will take that time into consideration, and he will have the extra hours added. Meaning, if he had completed 10 hours of wiping and then he became a traveler, he will have 62 hours left to wipe. Okay? 62 hours left to wipe as soon as he becomes a traveler musafir. Or if he had wiped over his khuffain for, let's say, 20 hours and then he became a traveler, he was a muqim, then he became a traveler, he will have 52 hours. He will have 52 hours left of wiping over his khuffain. Okay, so he will have 52 hours left. So the time will be added on. Whatever time had passed by, that will be taken into consideration, and if he becomes a traveler, he will have extra time added on, and as soon as the 72 hours come to an end, he will have to take off his khuffain. Okay, and the 72 hours doesn't begin from the time he becomes a traveler, but whatever time he had passed whilst he was a resident, the time of wiping, he will take that into consideration, and whatever time he has left until the 72 hours, he will add that on. Okay, so the author states, وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ, and whoever began the wiping, وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ, whilst he was a resident, فَسَافَرَ, and then he travelled, he became a traveller, قَبْلَ تَمَامِ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ, before the completion of 1 day and night, مَسَحَ تَمَامَ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ وَلَيَالِيهَا, he will wipe for the completion of 3 days and وَلَيَالِهَا and nights. Okay, so the time limit doesn't start when he becomes a traveler. Okay, but he will continue to wipe until he completes 72 hours. وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ, and whoever began the wiping وَهُوَ مُسَافِرٌ, whilst he was a traveler. ثُمَّ أَقَامَ, then he became a muqim, a resident. فَإِنْ كَانَ مَسَحَ يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً أَوْ أَكْثَرَ لَزِمَهُ نَزْعُ خُفَيْهِ وَإِنْ كَانَ أَقَلَّ مِنْهُ تَمَّمَ مَسْحَ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ. So the author states, فَإِنْ كَانَ مَسَحَ يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً, this person, he was a traveler, a musafir, and then he became a resident again. Okay, he will see how much time has passed by. Okay, if it was less than 24 hours, okay, if he had wiped for 24 hours or more, then it's necessary upon him لَزِمَهُ نَزْعُ خُفَيْهِ, to take off his خُفَيْن. وَإِنْ كَانَ أَقَلَّ مِنْهُ, but if it was less than 24 hours, تَمَّمَ مَسْحَ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ, then he will complete the wiping until the time of 1 day and 1 night had passed by, meaning he will complete 24 hours. So, for example, one, he was a resident, he began wiping upon his khuffayn, and then he became a traveler, and then he returned back to his city and became a resident. Okay, now after becoming a traveler, we mentioned that he has the extra time added on. Okay, but this person, he became a traveler, a resident again after becoming a traveler. Now the question is, can he continue wiping over his khuffayn? So he will see how much time has passed by since he was allowed to wipe over his khuffayn, since he invalidated his wudu after wearing his khuffayn in the state of tahara. So if 24 hours had passed by or more, then he will take off his khuffayn and wash his feet. Or if less than 24 hours had passed by, then he can continue wiping and complete the time limit of 24 hours. So this person, he was a muqim, he became a traveler, and then he became a muqim again, resident. Okay, he will see how much time has passed by. Okay, not when he became a musafir, but that previous past time when his time limit began of wiping over his khuffayn. He will take that time into consideration. And if 24 hours had passed by or more, he will take off his khuffayn. If less than 24 hours had passed by, he will continue wiping and complete 24 hours. Okay, so the author states, وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ, and whoever began the wiping وَهُوَ مُسَافِرٌ, whilst he was a musafir, ثُمَّ أَقَامَ, then he became a resident. Okay, so he was a musafir, and the time limit for a musafir we mentioned was 3 days and 3 nights. Okay, but before the completion of 3 days and 3 nights, this person, he returned to his city. Okay, he will see how much time has passed by since his time of wiping had begun. And if it was less than 24 hours, he can continue wiping until 24 hours come to an end. But if it was more than 24 hours, then he will take off his khuffayn. وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ, and whoever began the wiping وَهُوَ مُسَافِرٌ, whilst he was a musafir, traveler, ثُمَّ أَقَامَ, then he took up residence, meaning then he became a resident. فَإِنْ كَانَ مَسَحَ يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً, if he had wiped over his khuffayn for 1 day and night, أو أكثر or more, لَزِمَهُ نَزْعُ خُفَّيْهِ, then it is necessary upon him to take off his khuffayn. وَإِنْ كَانَ أَقَلَّ مِنْهُ تَمَّمَ مَسْحَ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ, and if less than 1 day and night had passed by, meaning 22 hours or 21 hours, تَمَّمَ مَسْحَ يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ, then he will complete the wiping of 1 day and night. وَمَنْ لَبِسَ الْجُرْمُوقَ فَوْقَ الْخُفِّ مَسَحَ عَلَيْهِ, and whoever wore jurmuq, the jurmuq فوق الخف, upon his khuf, masaha alayhi, he will wipe over it. He is allowed to wipe over it. So jurmuq is a semi-sock that is worn upon the khuf, that is put upon the khuf to protect the khuf. It's made from leather and it's put on top of the khuf to protect the khuf from getting destroyed. One is allowed to wipe over it. The condition for this is that he invalidated his wudu whilst he had the jurmuks on the khuf. If he didn't have the jurmuks on and he invalidated his wudu, he can't put the jurmuks on his khuf and wipe over them. He must wipe over his khufs. Okay? But if at the time of invalidating his wudu, he had his jurmuks on, he can wipe over his jurmuks. Okay? ولا يجوز المسح على الجوربين إلا أن يكونا مجلدين أو منعلين. And it is not permissible, and wiping is not permissible على الجوربين, upon the socks, إلا أن يكونا مجلدين, except that they are both مجلدين, meaning they are both made out of leather, covered with leather, أو منعلين, or they are both, or the soles of both socks are covered with leather. Muna'alayn means both the socks, the soles of the socks are covered with leather, are made from leather. Okay. Mujalladayn means that the khuf, both the socks are covered with leather, and muna'alayn means the soles of the socks are covered with leather. وقال and صاحبين say, صاحبين, the two students of Imam A'zam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh, Imam Abu Yusuf rahimahullah and Imam Muhammad rahimahullah, they say يجوز, it is permissible, إذا كان ثخينين لا يشفان, it is permissible when the two socks are ثخينين, thick, so thick, لا يشفان, that they are not transparent. Okay, they are thick. إذا كان ثخينين, both the socks are thick, لا يشفان, and not transparent, meaning they should not allow water to reach the foot. And remember, if half or more of the foot becomes wet due to the water reaching the foot, one's wiping will become nullified. He will have to take off his khufs. Okay, so they must not be transparent, and the khufs must stay attached with the foot without being tied. Okay, and they must cover the ankles. Okay, and they must be attached to the foot without being tied, and one should easily be able to walk in the khufs for 3 to 4 miles. Okay, only then will we say that wiping upon the khufs is jaiz. Okay, so Sahibain say one is allowed to wipe over socks as long as they are not transparent and they are thick enough. One can walk in them for 3 or 4 miles without them falling off, and they stay attached to the foot without being tied. Okay, and it's mentioned about Imam A'zam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi that before his death he did ruju, he returned to the opinion of the Sahibain. Okay, so he took the opinion of the Sahibain before his death. وَلَا يَجُوزُ الْمَسْحُ عَلَى الْعِمَامَةِ, and wiping is not permissible upon the imama, وَالْقَلَنْسُوَةِ, and the hat, so imama, turban, وَالْقَلَنْسُوَةِ, qalansuwa is hat, cap, so وَالْقَلَنْسُوَةِ, and one's hat, وَالْبُرْقَعِ, and neither is the woman allowed to wipe over her veil, but she will have to do masah of the head whilst performing wudu. وَالْقُفَّازَيْن, and neither is it allowed to wipe over the gloves. Qufazain, gloves, so one cannot wipe over his gloves. وَيَجُوزُ عَلَى الْجَبَائِرِ, and it is permissible to wipe over the bandages. وَإِن شَدَّهَا عَلَى غَيْرِ وُضُوءٍ. Even if one tied them whilst not being in the state of wudu. Meaning, one, he injured his arm, for example, and he wore a bandage, and he was not in the state of wudu when he tied the bandage. He is still allowed to wipe over that bandage when performing wudu. Okay? Wiping is still permissible. And this is not the case with regards to wiping over the khuffain. We mentioned before, one is only allowed to wipe over his khuffain if he wore his khuffain in the state of tahara. Okay? So وَإِن شَدَّهَا عَلَى غَيْرِ وُضُوءٍ. Even if he tied the bandage whilst not being in the state of wudu, فَإِن سَقَطَتْ مِنْ غَيْرِ بُرْءٍ. And if the bandage fell off مِنْ غَيْرِ بُرْءٍ, before the wound had healed or without the wound healing, لَمْ يَبْطُلِ الْمَسْحُ. The masha is not nullified. He can put the bandage on again and continue wiping over the bandage. Okay, so if the bandage fell off before the wound had healed, he can put it on again and continue wiping over it. وَإِن سَقَطَتْ عَنْ بُرْءٍ. And if it fell off after the wound had healed, بَطَلَ. Then the masha will become nullified. He can no longer wipe over the bandage.